Did you know that women outlive men 5 years on average? That can make planning your retirement more difficult if you need an additional 5 years of longevity from your assets. What can also be a challenge is covering long-term care costs. Consider that 70% of nursing home residents are women, and they go into the nursing home on average at age 80. So planning your retirement as a woman can have some unique challenges. In this video, we'll cover what those challenges are and some solutions that you might consider in your retirement plan. Hi, I'm Nathan Garcia. I'm a certified financial planner and retirement planning specialist. And in this video, I want to help you build a better retirement plan as a woman by talking about your long-term care expenses and how you may be able to increase your income. So let's talk about long-term care expenses. Long-term care is needed more by women because they tend to outlive men and they tend to have more complications later in life. As a result of that, covering your long-term care expenses in retirement should be something that you plan for. But with many people not being able to afford or qualify for standalone long-term care policies, we need to use some creative planning or some creative tactics in order to help potentially cover some of the long-term care expenses. So one of the best tools that you could consider is a health savings account, an HSA. A health savings account is going to allow you to save money for your medical expenses, and those funds can be rolled over year after year. So what's great is that you can get a tax deduction for contributing to an HSA, and when you pull the money out for qualified expenses, you don't have to pay any tax. So it's kind of like an IRA, but for health expenses. What's great about an HSA is that the funds can be rolled over year after year and accumulate tax deferred, but also you can use those funds for covering your long-term care insurance premiums. So if you have a qualified long-term care insurance policy, you can pay your premiums out of your HSA, meaning that you could pay for your long-term care insurance using tax-deductible dollars. Now that can be very powerful for you depending on the type of policy that you have and your tax situation. But it's a great option for you for covering long-term care expenses. Even if you don't use your HSA to cover a long-term care insurance policy, you may be able to use some of the funds to offset your medical expenses in retirement. So consider using an HSA to help offset your long-term care expenses and save some extra money for your health care bills in retirement. Now, another consideration for women is their tendency to outlive men. And as a result of that, we want to be aware of what assets will be available for a woman later on in life. Now, that could be based on your situation. If you're married or not really doesn't change that. The only consideration is, what resources you have available to you. So for this video, what we'll talk about is one of the biggest decisions in your retirement, which is when do you file to receive your Social Security benefits? Now, historically, women have earned about 25% less than men. That means that their Social Security benefits tend to be about 25% less. Now, this is not always the case, but just from my personal experience, I've seen that this is very common. And it's one of the reasons that we want to look at when you file for your Social Security benefits, because the income that you can get from your Social Security benefits can make up 30 to 50% of your total household income. This is especially so if you are married or you were married and your spouse earned more than you. As somebody who was married, if you've been married for over 10 years, you may qualify for your spouse's or your ex-spouse's Social Security benefit. Now that could be a spousal benefit that you qualify for, or if they pass before you, then you may be able to collect on their survivor benefit. So this can be very powerful for women when they're planning, because it may allow them to delay taking their own Social Security benefit so they can get the delayed retirement credit, or when they pass, they may be able to collect a higher benefit in the form, sorry, or when their husband passes, they may be able to collect a higher benefit in the form of the survivor benefit. And that survivor benefit is going to typically be equal to 100% of the amount that the spouse was receiving. So those can be very powerful tools for you if you are planning your retirement and you're concerned about longevity, about outliving your assets. So just as a quick recap for this video, retirement planning for women poses some unique challenges for the purpose of covering healthcare expenses, specifically long-term care expenses, and also not outliving your assets. And so as a woman, you want to consider what tools are available to you, starting off with your healthcare funding vehicle being an HSA, and potentially looking at a long-term care insurance policy that could pay you in multiple situations, like a life insurance policy that has long-term care benefits. You'll also want to consider your filing option for your Social Security benefits to make sure that you're making a wise decision or you have a strategy in place to help you collect the most. Now, if you have any questions about this, then you should refer to your financial plan that will help you look at your pros and cons and make a smart financial decision. So I hope that you found this video helpful, and if you did, leave me a comment below. Tell me what was most impactful or what questions you are still left with. Thanks, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.